Hey friends, welcome back to the Dragon King tutorial, and we are on part 2 of the collapse. Basically, we are doing the upper portion of the model, and if you are surprised by this, go ahead and watch part 1 so you can get to this stage, and then we can continue. Now, before we get folding, I did some things on this arm that you might see. Don't worry about it, we're going to cover those into shaping. I'm basically using this arm to understand what we're going to shape it like. And then this arm, I'm going to teach it to you on. So just ignore that for now. Again, I've never folded this before. So we are discovering and teaching on the go. But we won't really worry about this. We're going to go through this section in this tutorial. And then at the end, we'll do some of this stuff. And real quick, let's go to the sponsor of this video.
And today's video is brought to you by me with the OBB membership. Meet Kai, who just folded Satoshi Kamiya's Region 2.1, but like many of you, struggled to solve certain parts like the head and couldn't find anywhere for help. That is until he joined OBB membership, where he got a direct line of help from me and I pointed him in the right direction to finish. Just look how happy he is and how cool that region turned out.
I've been responding to every comment for years, but the OBB membership lets me help with more specific origami questions. You can even get help from other talented OBB members, some who are award-winning origami designers. Even more benefits await, such as exclusive crease patterns, behind-the-scenes content, and diagram testing.
Ready to tackle your own origami goals? Click the join button below and become a member today.
All right, we are back and ready to collapse this top part. And I've been trying to think what's the easiest way to start this. And basically what we have is if I go over to this crease pattern, we folded this section, but not anything over here. So I'm thinking maybe we just get this flap out of the way and that will let us collapse the head pretty nicely. And then the top corner part is actually very, very easy to initially collapse, I should say. It gets a little bit more complicated once we start doing the details. But I think that's the game plan. Honestly, it might be easier to just look at this crease pattern while we collapse it. So I'll have that open. And we'll just ignore this one for now. So what we're looking at is here. And I think what we're going to want to do is first we need to find where the pre-creases are. So let's start from the left side. And I know that at least it's, not the direct one. So I'm just going to reach arbitrarily into here and just kind of spread some layers until I can find it. So I see some pre-creases. This is for the dragon head. So we're getting close to where that flap is done, which I think is right here. And then it should go out 3. 1, 2, 3. So right here. And then let's see if it comes back down the other way. I'll take the clip off. And it does. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So it does. Now, in order to collapse this is going to be valley fold. So what we actually want to do is very similar to that 2-unit flap that's inside the arm is let's take, let's say just one more layer here and wrap it or unwrap it this way. All right, so now we have a smooth axis here. And what we're going to want to do is lay the pleat on top of the other one. All right, so it's just sitting on top of this now. And that way, we can make this 2 flap, and then we just have to find the grid line, which I think it helps that the grid lines are going to be in the right direction from here on out, so we don't have to invert them. And now I'm basically grabbing the sides, pulling it in to line up the first set of pre-creases. I can hold it like this. Obviously, it's not fully collapsed yet, but it gives us a good starting point. And then from here, let's unwrap for the head. And what I'm looking for is the first flap that forms. So over here, right, this flap right here, I'm looking for that. And it is right here, right? So originally we had a mountain fold that goes down there, but now we're gonna need a mountain fold that goes up to the top. Like this. It's kind of hard to hold it through all the layers, so we're just gonna have to make do for now. But because we have that, we now have a good direction on how much of the paper we need to open, which is just this amount if I'm following that grid line. And we can even start to collapse this along the pre-creases like that. Just like this. And I think we can try to get this bottom part closed up. We just need to push into place. It might not lay perfectly flat yet until we do the other side, but something like this. And I just have to twist it a little bit for it to collapse all the way, but just like that. It's just a regular flap. And then for now, with this flap up here, we can collapse it almost down, I think. So we're gonna want to grab, we might need to collapse it like one more unit each, like this. But once we have 3 units, 1, 2, 3. Oh, we have the 3 units here. Okay. We just need 3 units of it collapsed. What we can do is make a valley fold. So this is 1, 2, 3. This is our hinge. We can fold it forward like this and close the layer with a valley fold like that. And that kind of keeps it contained for now. And from here, because we have got this weird thing going on both sides, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side first. And it'll make it a lot easier for us to continue. So first step is to find the other end of our pre-creases, which is over here, which is right below the dragon head. So I can see our dragon head pre-creases right here. So we should be close. If I go down, I can now trace the pre-creases. So 1, 2, 3. So that's the top of our, oh, no, I miscounted. Okay, 1, 2, 3. This is the top of our flap. And so we're going to spread out that unit like this. So that's the top of the pre-creases. And then we also want to give it an extra layer. So I'm going to unwrap the layer that's next to it, over it, like this. This is just for layer distribution. There you go. So now the layer is too wide. Then from here, we can open it up so we can find this grid unit, or this grid line that runs all the way through. And once we have the grid line, we can start collapsing along the pre-creases. Until we find the creases that go over here, which start to making the head. If I pull it out here, we can see it right here. And this will just let us do a regular box pleat collapse for the head. And it should start to feel easier because the both sides will be aligned. So we can continue it all the way down here. Looks like I need to pop this out a little bit. Or pre-crease. There you go. Just like that. So that's our 3 units of one side and the other side. We can do some of the creasing here. I do have a crease running along this way. I think this is just extra, maybe from folding the paper diagonally or something I mistake, but it goes back that way. But for now, what we can do is, because we have 3 units of this flap, we can fold it forwards and then valley fold all the layers together like this, just like the other side, and it allows it to close up like that. Right? Pretty nice. Right? And we can check on the other side, just make sure that is like basically like it's stabilized in the collapse. And that's looking pretty good. So from here on out, I think we can do one side at a time, where we're going to be collapsing the head and the left side at the same time. Now, what I like to do, because we have the layers all together now, or mostly together now, I like to add the mountain folds of where the top of these flaps are. So if we see this flap and these ones and this big one here, if I scroll to this side, right, you can see how there's like the mountain fold here, mountain fold here, mountain fold here. And so I want to find those and add the mountain fold because it makes the collapse a little bit easier. And I can just follow my pre-creasing, right? So this one goes up 2 units here. So that's our first mountain fold, which it's a little bit stuck actually. So I might not be able to do this one, but mountain fold here. I just get it a little bit. And then there's another one that's just 2 units next to it. So it goes down, goes up. Oh, just kidding. So, okay, this is the first mountain fold. This is the second one. And then it goes down and up here. This is going to be the third. So over here, like this. Okay, so there's not too many to do. And then 3 units down from here, we have a valley fold. And technically at the very top, we also have a mountain fold, but that one's going to be a lot less important because it's all the way towards the edge. So that'll be pretty easy to manage. But with that done, we have the start of a direction for when we are collapsing. So let's go ahead and start on this side. All right, so let's continue our collapse. Now, for now, we have all of these pre-creases for our dragon head. We're mostly going to ignore this for now and just collapse it like we have this simple flap structure right here. I know it's going to be some work to get it done, but we're going to do that next. But for now, we can just follow our creases. So I think the easiest thing from here to do is actually just start pleating downwards and treating this like one big Elias stretch. So our grid naturally creases this way, even though we have a bunch of other pre-creases, but you just want to be careful because there's so many creases. The paper might be a little delicate, but just start creasing all of these pleats down until basically we hit this structure right here. Now, in the meantime, we could choose to be collapsing the head, which I think maybe is a good idea. It'll save us some time here at the same time. So we have, let me show it here, right? Our pre-creases for the head. And we just did those mountain folds. So we can just collapse it like this. All right, this should be all pretty easy. Compared to what we've done earlier, I don't think I have to explain this too much, but let's keep going. There are quite a lot of layers here, so there you go. But I can see the top of our pre-creases right around there. Right here we have the top of another mountain fold, like that, for the helmet. See, I'm keeping all the layers nice together. Okay, and then over here, I believe is where we start to have... Oh, no, not yet. Not yet. We got a few more pleats to go down. And once we hit the one at the corner shares the same height as the one in the middle. So that's how we know we've reached the correct place. All right, so we can probably just start from the edge and collapse this, because as we do the next grid line, we'll run into our actual pre-crease here. I think is it this one? No, it's right here. I think. Let's see. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a little bit further. I'm going to unfold this just a little bit so I can see. So go down all the way to here, and then it goes up, 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 up to here, and then it goes back down. Okay, so we found where the pre-crease is supposed to go. It goes all the way to here. And this will be the point of our flap that will turn into the dragon head. And we can just keep collapsing like normal. From here, we have the other side, the pre-creases that go down. And those will finish off the head side of the collapse. Now the head side, it won't really want to fully collapse because we haven't done it on the other side. So it's going to kind of be interrupted. So because of that, let's just finish off the side towards the edge. Just follow our pre-creases. We have one area that like raises up right here. So don't forget about that. That is right here. All right. Like that. And this should collapse nicely down. We do have this flap here, which kind of unfolded itself a little bit. Put that back. We have the corner laying down next to the arm. Now we just have this section left, which we're going to try to collapse it as much as we can, even though on the other side it's going to be a little bit weird. I think we can get pretty close. Oh, now I was pushing on the wrong pre-crease there. And yeah, the other side is not liking that at all. So I think what we're going to want to do is fold the other side a little bit. It's the other side, and then the center will be right. Pivoting or pleating all the layers down. Finding those pre-creases. And then going from there. And this should all collapse all together. So I'll let you work on this. There's not really much to explain. You can just watch me do it as you work on it too. And once we get closer to finishing all this up, I'll introduce any other info I might think might help. But I'll let you go for it. And we'll go from there. All right, both sides are just about done, right? We just have like a little bit left. And because we had to unfold a little bit, what I want you to make sure is as you're finishing up the claps, so like on this side, some things that had gotten unfolded, make sure they're all tucked into the layers nicely, like this. Right, you might have to pop out some of the creases. And then the other thing that's probably going awry is this flap here that we had done. So on my side over here, basically what I need to do to get it to collapse is to align those 3 grid units of this flap. And I do that by basically twisting the paper or the model to like open up this area. That way you can place it down and fold it up. And by folding it up, it will let you line up the rest of your creases over here that previously were like pushed out of the way. So on my side, because the paper is a little bit thick, not all the creases are super aligned. So I'm going to fix some of those first, like this. And then on the other side, so as you can see, you can twist the paper in different directions to like basically get access to different parts of each side. So you can fold it a little bit cleaner. And that's my tip for you as you're working on this. Okay, there you go. Place this inside, close it up. And I think that's both sides good to go. For the head, which consists of, like, this is the neck area, and then here's our head. All right, now something we're going to do before we get to the dragon heads is this flap here definitely is pretty annoying. It makes the whole flap a lot thicker on both sides. So what we're going to do is just kind of swivel it out of the way, which will let us then collapse our dragon heads. So what you're going to do is, if you, again, open this up a little bit, you'll see it can start to slide into this flap as well. And so what we're going to do is basically reverse fold it up and into this area. So you like fold it in half one way, or let's see, what's the best way to, yeah, I guess we can just fold it in half like this and let it hinge upwards as far as we can, basically into that area. As we go, actually, maybe we should do it the other way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten it out. I'm going to lean it as close towards this center of the torso as I can while fixing some of the creases. The cleaner your creases are here, probably the more space you'll be able to take. So I'm just going to press in some of the creases here to make it a little bit cleaner. Right. So we're leaning it forwards there, and then adding a reverse fold. So basically valley fold this way, mountain folds like that. Now it's going to slide it a little bit into this flap for now, just like this. And that is going to help thin out this flap, which makes up the dragon head quite a bit. The flap over here, this is going to turn into the cape. So keep that back there. So let's do the same thing on the other side. So let's go find that flap. It's right over here. This one actually collapsed a little bit cleaner. So we're going to grab it. We're going to open up this area and valley fold it towards that. And when I valley fold it towards that end, I have to fix some more creases over here. And from here, we're going to make a reverse fold that tucks it into that flap. Try and make it a little bit cleaner. Crease down. yeah, there's a lot going on on this top half. So just get ready for that. And then for now, this big flap here, we can just kind of valley fold it down like this. And you can kind of see how this will help to start make some of the shoulders. Shoulder armor, shoulder details. Stuff like that. All right. So we're looking pretty good. I'm wondering if we should do the flap inversion for this first before we do the dragon heads. I'm thinking maybe so. I think once we have the dragon head set, it won't be too hard. We'll have to unfold some things, but it might be easier to get this done out of the way so we don't have to unfold the dragon heads. So let's go ahead and do that next. We're going to be working on this big center flap over here. All right, so my microphone went out and I didn't realize it after doing this next part. So I'm going to briefly explain again what we're doing. It's with this middle flap. And as you can see, this is what it looks like when it's done, right? We've extracted the flaps, we've pulled them out to the side, all sorts of stuff. But I'm going to quickly unfold one of them so that you can see what is going on over here. First thing I have to do is this. And then we're going to, that's okay. All right, and then I can open up this. So this flap is one that we pulled out of the center flap right here, this really big center flap. And I think it's self-explanatory, so I don't have to detail too much. But basically, if you look at the crease pattern, we have those flaps. So the first thing to do is after you pull out the layers like this, you want to collapse this 1 unit flap here first. And so you just do that by holding the grid unit, and then you can pop the crease pattern or the pre-creases into place and just push it against this area, which we didn't pull out. This is the end of that other flap we had. So we have that being okay. Next is we have to collapse the big one. So the easiest way to do that is to reach underneath the paper and inside, so you can use your hand to basically pop all the pre-creases into place. And as you do that, which I like to do the front first, and then in the back, I'm using my other hand to assist me getting these creases into place. It'll collapse like this. Then what you're going to do is these layers together will be pushing against the flap like that. And you can either pull it into the middle flap like this, or what you can do, and what we're going to do even if you do this, is we're going to pull it down as like a reverse fold out to the side. And it's going to sit, you know, next to the shoulder here. And it is a longer flap, so make sure it's around 4 grid units long. That's how long it should be. Because there's so many layers, it might not feel like it can do that, but as you squish everything together, you'll be able to get it longer and longer. I think I can probably even get this one longer if I squeeze down a little bit more, right? But that'll happen more in shaping. And then next thing to do is we need to squash fold this corner down. So we're going to open up in the middle here, and we can just, this is kind of like a square twist. We can swivel the bottom to the side and then squash fold. And there we have a square twist. And that's just to keep it pointy. So it's like that. And as you can see, I've done both sides. So go ahead and do both sides. And then once you have both sides, we're going to come back and deal with this remainder center flap. All right, so now you're done with both sides, right? Yeah, both of these. Here's our arms. What I want you to do is grab your arms and like the dragon head and the corners, which is going to be the cape over here. Grab these all together. Do the same thing on the other side, like this. And I'm just going to lay the model down like this, where I'm kind of opening out these layers to the side a little bit. This is just the position we're going to be in to keep track of everything while we invert this flap over here. So this 4-unit flap here. Now to prep this flap, we are going to rabbit ear it. So I'm going to rabbit ear it right here. So let's add, and I'm going to try to do it as close to the hinge as possible, just so we maximize the length of this flap. Try not to affect the torso underneath. Squeeze the layers together, pre-crease. Here, squeeze the layers together, pre-crease. Okay. So something like this. It's not like super clean, but try to get it as just close to the, as long as the grid unit as you can, like that. It's not gonna be perfect, but that's okay. Especially if you're using thicker paper. My paper is pretty thin and it's still doing this. Okay, that's just to prep it, because basically we are now going to invert this to the other side, and then it's going to squash down and make some back armor. And to invert it, we actually don't have to change the creases too much. I think only like 2 of them are going to change. But what we're going to do is we're going to open up the middle a little bit and push it through to the other side. And the key thing is just try to get the center through, and let, like, you don't want too many of the creases to be undone. So here's the very center. We found the center, right? And this part will kind of unfold a little bit, but not too much of the creases have to unfold. Actually, most of them, they're going to stay basically the same. It's just going to be pressed inside of the model. So when we have it like half done here, what's important is at the top of this triangle is going to be a mountain fold. That is where the top is. It's going to close up around that like this. So that's how much of this other flap you want. And you want to try to keep everything collapsed as much as you can. So that involves like pressing a lot of things together on each side. And you're going to pull the flap down to the best of your ability. And as you can see, it's like 4 grid units wide. If I can get this out of the way. Right, it's 4 grid units wide. On the top part, what we're going to do is we're going to valley fold. I guess from the bottom it's going to be mountain fold, but we're going to valley fold this together while keeping all the layers, or as many of the layers together as we can. Like that. And then on the bottom here, same thing, get those layers together and then valley fold up top like this. And you can see like some of the layers aren't fully collapsed yet, so you want to try to get as many of those to collapse as you can back to normal. Some of them will form some new creases, but it should be able to help you pull those layers tightly together. All right, so I'm really like pulling and squeezing as much as possible. And then over on the front, you can start to see that, right, we have preserved this triangle, or we're doing our best to preserve it. And it's going to be sandwiched in the top of that one. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to, let's see. Okay, on the bottom, we're going to have it valley folded like this. And that will start to let us fold the rest of the flaps back together along the axis. And that flap will stick out through the middle of all of them like that, just for now. So try to use that to get all the flaps in line. Prioritize the torso being intact. We got torso intact, we got the arms intact, this. Sorry for blocking the view. Like that. Okay, so it's mostly intact. This opened up a little bit, which means this flap, we can pull it a little bit more. We just have to make sure that the rest of this comes down. I believe so. We have the way to know is we have this flap up here. It should be 2 units here, and then it can close. Down below like this. Or actually, it's maybe it's three units down. It's like that. This might be a time where you want to use some clips just to preserve it. But ultimately, actually from here, the neck is going to be a rabbit ear. So I think what we can probably do that now, actually, where this is part of the face. So we have a hinge down here. Let's add a rabbit ear like this. So I'm making valley fold like this. And that way the neck can, so this is the rabbit ear, right? The neck can stay together like that, but the head is, it's not. It's gonna be open. Okay, so for here, I'm gonna use a clip. You might want to use a clip just to hold it together. It'll be a little bit easier. We might have to unclip it when we do the dragon heads, but at least for now, just to keep these layers together. Like that, a little bit lower. Okay, let's try to get the this clip might be a little too small. Okay, there you go. So we got that. We're pulling on the back flap here. And then trying to realign everything all at once. Okay, I think we just about got it. Okay, so we'll, close up the neck fully in shaping, but essentially it's like this. And you just want to try to preserve this mountain fold as much as you can above the torso. It's going to close down like this. Now, the nice thing about all this craziness is because of how the layers, or how the neck is and how some of these layers are adjusted, it actually elongates our arms just a little bit. down here towards the shoulders. So, yep, they're a little bit longer. So we'll have a better time when shaping, which will be nice. And then here's the rest of our flaps for the helmet and shaping. All right, so I know that's kind of crazy. It's kind of going to be crazy until we shape, I guess. But that is one of the harder parts of this model for sure. And we're just going to let this flap sit here, I think, in the center for now. But as you can see, there is room where we can widen it to close out the back. We can probably do like a squash fold or something like that to smooth it out. Or even just open it like this and yeah, do a squash fold down the middle and it'll close up the back. So, you know, it's useful at least, but kind of a pain point of this design. All right, so that's done. Now we're on to the dragon heads. So now it's time to work on the dragon head, and my model looks a little bit different because I went ahead and collapsed one of them. That way I know how to teach it to y'all, and I just wanted to make sure that it would work in the correct way, which basically, see, it'll have to twist a little bit, but it's going to sit over the shoulder like this. Here's what will be the horns, eyes, mouth. We're going to do those details later, but essentially we are going to turn this flap into this. So let's get started. This is going to be a little bit crazy. I'm actually going to undo my clips. We're going to have to unfold a little bit. Essentially, this whole flap right here, we want access to it. So I'm going to open it up over here. And this is the center area. So I'm going to just pull this out a little bit and open towards the edge like this. And that way I have access here. I have access on the other side. And then I still need some access over here. So we're going to unfold some of this too. Basically up until we see the layer that has the diamonds that we pre-creased and the ones, and it's basically the ones that's like not divided further. So if you look on the paper, I'm going to find the one on the edge. It's right here. So it's pretty far in, but you want to add a mountain fold for where that crease is, right? Just to get it ready. And then here is my ridge, which goes up. And then on this side, it is over here. So you can see how we have the mountain fold here. And so I want this to be unfold all the way down. And then this is the first division here. So let's have that as a valley fold. And we're just having this as like placeholder because it's going to be useful to reference as we go on. And for this valley fold, I'm just using my hand under the model to make sure it is on there. It doesn't have to like stay flat for now. We just want some memory in the paper with that pleat. Okay, let's do the top one now. We can see the mountain fold and then the valley fold. Right. So it won't stay, obviously. But again, we're just going for giving the paper a little bit of memory that these are here. And then same thing on the last side, which we have to open up a little bit more. Like this. Flip it around so I can see the valley folds. All right, just like that. And again, if you need to see maybe a better version of this being taught, the two-headed dragon tutorial uses the exact same head. I think I use a slightly bigger paper. So you can go ahead and watch that if whatever I do here doesn't make any sense. So you got two examples of this head. But I think I figured it out for this time around. and we can start. So from here, what I'm going to be doing is from the edge and these horizontal divisions, I'm going to be mountain valley folding them all the way up, or at least as far as I can. And then that allows us to do all the transition units on this side and on this side. And then after that, we can fold out the structure for the head. So the first thing I'm going to do is this very edge one. We're going to go mountain valley. And this will let us start on the first transition over here. And when we do this transition, so we also are going to be refolding the pleats out to the side over here. Right, so when I do these first two, mountain valley, I can fold this mountain pleat, and on the inside here is this diamond, which is our level shifter. It folds just like the other level shifters, but you can fold it together. So let's do mountain valley mountain. Just it'll be easier to show. I'm gonna mountain fold the next one. Right, let it line up to the transition, which I'm gonna try to show it on camera. And if your pre-crease isn't popping naturally like mine is, you just reach underneath the paper and then it'll be there. All right, so mountain valley mountain lets us get this first pleat done too, like this on this side, right? And so then you do the same thing on this side. Right, so I got up to the transition. Now I also have to refold this pleat. And you gotta pop it in. I think the first one is the hardest because on the edge, it doesn't have much memory, or there's a lot of pressure pulling it out. But once you have a few of these done, it'll kind of stay on its own. Okay, so we have the first one done. Let's do the second one just to show again. We're going to do on the thin divisions, mountain, valley, mountain. Mountain. And then valley, mountain. But in order to do this valley, mountain, I am just going to grab the mountain and then fold it to the edge we're working on, and that creates the valley. Like that. Get inside. Look for the transition unit. Pre-creases. Like that. There we go. Same thing on this side. This one actually happened a lot more naturally. And now we can kind of collapse this next pleat here. So we're like simultaneously refolding the model after we had opened it up. And what you're going to do is you're going to repeat this process all the way until about here is where you'll be able to get to. You won't really be able to get too much further. So get to around here. I'm probably just going to time lapse me finishing this because there's not much to explain. But yeah, just keep pleating all the way up and at least I'll show it. And we have finished as much of the pleats as we could. Basically just like two more. We have pretty much all of them pleated up. It'll look something like this. This is kind of crazy. That took me around like 13 minutes. So, you know, it might take you around 20. We'll see. But we are ready to move on to the next part. So we have these transition units on the side, nicely done. So I just want you to, you know, crease them, press on them well, because now what we're going to do is unfold it and we're going to be folding the middle section in. So first we have to identify where the middle is. So I'm going to unfold these a little bit like so. And then we are going to find the middle. And before that, I'm actually going to show a real quick on Origami. So how to find the middle is basically we're looking for our creases that go to the center, right? And then we had this point that actually went to the center, and then these mountain folds that form, you know, basically a 2 pair on the side is the ones we want to find. You can also look for them next to our ridges up here, which actually, yeah, we don't have the pre-crease, but ridges over here. So we are going to try to find that on this one. I'm going to put Origami away. So we're going to look for that so we can find where the center of some of them are, which is like up here. I'm actually going to look at the edge. That might be easier for me to show. And we can see our pre-creases are here, and that means that 2 to the inside is our center. So here is one of them. I'm going to do a mountain valley, just so I can see it. And let's get this all the way through. Mountain valley. Okay, so that's one, and then the next one is on this side. Mountain valley. There we go. And we want it to go all the way until the transition units at the top here. So I need to go a little bit further. I can see them up here with this mountain fold we originally had set. So let me make these a little bit longer. And then because we are pleating like this, we can actually start to fold along the transition units for the top part. So that's all the way to the edge. Like that. We might need to do one more set of mountain valleys before we can do the transition unit up here, but it is right here. But let's get one more set of mountain valleys along this. Mountain valley. And then we're at the point where we can just start collapsing the structure. Okay, and then that allows us, now I can see my transition unit in there. I think you can see it on camera too. But that will help us to start recollapsing this area. So let's do the same thing on the other side. A lot of this we're going to be doing on the same side of these together, just because it'll be necessary for the model to like collapse flat if we do it evenly. Okay, here we go. This one I'm gonna have to pop the pre-creases a little bit more. There you go. Now we can see our transition in it right there. Okay, there it goes. Now we're getting set up. We've got part of it collapsed. Now what we're going to do is, because we've done these two pleats, if we look really closely, we can actually see the start of our pre-crease right here. And so we can collapse that and treat it as an ally stretch going this way. The only thing is we're going to have to collapse the left and right side at the same time. So let's get the right side done. And what I would recommend is you have the crease pattern at the ready. Right, so you can understand. There we go. Where it's going. So I'm actually going to revert the crease pattern without all the level shifters so you can see where we're creasing. Okay, so you can kind of see how in this simplified crease pattern, the ridges just go like 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2. And so you have this pre-creased already, right? I just want you to just be aware of this. Let me make it a little bit smaller. And that's what you're going to try to find. It might be hard to fully keep track, or you might accidentally add a crease, but really try to look for those pre-creases that we had done. And that's what I'm going to be following here. So I got my first one here on the edge, and it goes back up into another 1 unit flap here. Like that. And the edge one is always the one that can be a little bit fidgety. But once we have it going, we're kind of okay. And I am reaching underneath the paper a lot to help poke the pre-creases in the right position. So that might help you. All right, so we have our first 2 flaps here. Next, we have a flap here. Okay, that's the next flap. I almost creased something I wasn't supposed to, but since I checked both sides, that's how I knew. So we got 1, 2, 3 so far. And then I'm just following to crease this down. It's a little bit hard to see the pre-creases on my end, but if I angle it towards the light, I can see it. And then I know where it's going. And I can follow it. So the next flap is here. Let's get it on both sides. Okay, that's our next flap. And we just keep going all the way up. Yeah, I doubt that you'll be able to see it on my screen, so I hope it makes sense on yours on what to do. But again, I think I show it a little bit more clear on the 2-head dragon tutorial, so you can go ahead and check that out if you need a better visualization. This is just this is pretty small. like that. Okay, so this is the mouth and teeth. So we've got these layers are the teeth. Now we got one more flap by the top of the mouth. Okay, there you go. There you go. So far on the crease pattern, we've collapsed all of this area, and then now we're here, and we have like a little bit of a long stretch, 1 unit flap, and then it goes out. This center area, we're not going to do yet. We're just going to crease this, which makes a big flap in the middle, kind of similar to what we've done a lot in this tutorial. So we're just ignoring that center area for now. This goes down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. On this 1, 2, 3, 4. That. And then it goes up 1. It's like that, up 1. Down 4, up 1. Paper's starting to fight me a little bit, but we'll just keep going. Now the crease goes back up. Here, this is for the horns. And if this happens to you, this is where my pleats got messed up, make sure you fix that. That way you can start to rely on holding all the layers flat as you collapse. And we are almost to the end here. I got that collapsed. Let's do on the other side. And then as we get close to the transitions at the base of the head, we should be able to just collapse everything down, but you're going to have to make sure you've done the transitions on this side and this side. So we're about here. This is the horns. And then here's where we need to do a few more transitions. To do that, we're just solving this last Elias stretch basically, which has this pre-crease coming down towards the corner. Now the corner is kind of interesting. So if we find a corner here, over here, it actually kind of pops out like this, almost like the top of a water bomb base, right? And then once that's out, it's going to enable the transition on this side to be folded, and on this side to be completed. We had started that, but we didn't complete it. And it actually collapses very nicely down into the pocket there, like that. We just need to do the other side now. So here is the corner, which becomes that top of the water bomb base like this. And then we need to just fix some of these grid lines. That way we can get the transition unit. just right here. Like that. And then we solve the rest of this Elias stretch. Let this all tuck in together, and what we'll have is all the flaps together for the dragon head. It might be a little bit thick, but it should compress together okay. Like this. There you go. So we have the mouth flaps, we have the eyes, and these will become the horns. And just get that as tight as you can and kind of crease down so all those creases are, you know, ready to go. Like that. And now you just want to make sure that whatever happened over here goes back to normal. So I just have to fix my folds like this a little bit. And then the other thing we have to consider is that this flap is opened up 2 units, which is making this part very open. Now, what we want to do is, this is part of our shoulder armor, right? And we are going to swivel this head to the armor, kind of like that, and it'll let it fold, like basically mountain fold a little bit. So to do this swivel, we are making the valley fold from this top corner, like basically down to the bottom here. And that will let it sit like on top, relatively on top of that structure. And then from there, you can like gently fold this in half. If you don't have to fold in half if you're worried about your paper breaking. But I would just like try to identify where these flaps are. This shoulder armor can go back to being folded like this. And you just have it in place, sticking out to the side like this. So you can see how on my arm over here, I have it. Both are sticking out to the side. And again, if you messed up this part, make sure you put it back. That's going to be important for later. And there we have the base of the dragon heads collapsed. So we almost have all the parts. Next, what we're going to do is finish off the dragon heads. So that's going to be folding out the horns and then doing the teeth divisions. But these are all maneuvers we've done already. Like the teeth pleats are going to be very similar to how we did the pleats down here. It's actually the same structure as the leg spikes. So that's what's next. But now what I would recommend is you can use some clips like on the legs to keep all these layers intact. Because it gets kind of crazy when all the layers are kind of flopping around. So I'm going to put my clips back like this. And then if you need to, you can put some to keep the neck together, or like these flaps. It's basically, you know, you just want to make sure you have everything not falling apart. But let's get to these dragon heads. It's a little bit small. So again, I keep reminding, there is another tutorial that probably shows it better. So I recommend you watch that in case I can't show it too well here, but I will show it here regardless. So let's get started. Right, so let's get to this part. I'm actually going to have my tweezers nearby, just because they'll probably be useful. So if you have some, I recommend it. I'm going to take some of these clips off just for now. And the first thing we want to do is pre-crease those divisions. So if we open up the mouth here, we've got the flaps. I'm just going to fold them back and forth so you can see, like, and hinge them. Right, like this. We got 2 here. We got 2 up here. And we're going to pre-crease all 4 just by folding the layer in half. Right. Just like on the legs. Same thing here. And then the same thing on these bottom ones. This one. And you can just fold them in half. It doesn't really matter the direction, just whatever is the most comfortable for you to get it, you know, relatively clean. All right. And then just like on the legs, we are going to do the squash fold now that we've pre-creased these. Now this is where it gets a little bit small. So I'm going to use my tweezers just to open up this layer so I can start the squash on both sides for all 4 of these. And what I'm focusing on is, if you remember when we did the legs, there is the internal structure like in the center. Inside there, you want to make sure that is what's getting squashed, because that will help pre-crease for the next portion. You want to do your best to make sure it is on the pre-creases. Take your time. These get it good. This one is a little bit off. There you go. And then when you have the squash fold, we can just fold it in half. And that's, again, just going to be for pre-creasing the next step. That one took me a little while, but next one, yeah, when they get really small like this, they are a little bit more difficult. This one, the structure is different. So we have the middle right here. And so we just need to push in a little bit as we do the squash fold. So I just used my fingernail and shoved it in there a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect, but this will help that transition. Same thing on the other side. And instead of just relying on the squash fold, I am going to fold along the pre-creases. I think it'll be a little bit more accurate. I think the paper is a little bit too small for it to just squash fold very naturally. But this one worked a lot better than the first one. And then same thing, just valley fold forward in half there. All right, we got 2 more. Let's do this one. This one's the same structure as the other. Fold along the pre-crease. Same thing here for that squash fold. There we go. And this side, I'm just going to valley fold it the other way because it's the top of the mouth. Again, it doesn't matter too much here, but just like that for now. And then once more for the top one. And we're going to make sure we're on those pre-creases. And valley fold that forward. And so make sure these are pretty well creased, because now we're going to spread out the layers and like refold the same structure. All right, so now what we're going to do is unfold the layers over here. And we're going to try just to unfold the like 2 layers in. We don't want to unfold the whole head. But you might have to undo the squash fold just a little bit, but we're putting it right back. So what I'm going to do actually is just hold one side at a time and just allow this to unwrap one layer like this. And yeah, we're going to be unfolding most of that fold right there up to the top, basically popping this out. And we just need to go up to here. That's good enough. And once we have one side, we're going to do the same thing on the other. Just like that. Okay. And then from here, while it's wide open, we're going to recollapse it, but with these squash folds folded into place. So some of the creases aren't the right directions, but that's okay. You're just going to want to, again, it's like mountain valley, right? So there are, like, the center ones will be correct. So you want to follow the center ones and fold it back. So I have that one done. Let's do this one. And here you'll have to pay attention a little bit to the structures that make up the transition units. So let me get this one going and you'll see what I mean. So we can start in the center with the mountain valleys and then progress it outwards. And then over here we have what used to be the flap, but then makes the squash fold. And so I want to hold these pleats together, and then from the pre-creases, it like lines up that squash fold, and it's the same structure as the legs. So if you're familiar with this transition, which you should be if you've folded in from my crease pattern class, that will be the same there. And same thing on this side. And it's okay if it's not super clean, but you want to try to get it, at least the pleats, as good as possible like that. Now we have the upper part. A little bit more going on because of the layout. But again, just get the squash folds in place. Like that. That's one. And then we just have one more towards the top here. That's the center. And now here's the transition unit. Okay, there we go. This one's a little bit stuck. All right, there we go. So we have these pleats squash folded like this. And now what we have to do is, just like on the legs, we have to do the close sync to make them staggered. So to make them like here. And the important part is to make sure they're going the right direction. So follow me. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. It's getting pretty small. All right, so starting from this one, we are going to, this is like the one that's closest to the edge, right? We're going to valley fold the pleat, the outermost tiny pleat down like this. Valley fold it down and then close sync it through here. Basically make the outermost crease a mountain. It's a very tiny close sync, which actually makes it kind of easy to do. And see how we're getting that the pleats staggered like that. And then now for the next one, we're going to valley fold it down. And then same thing, though this close sync can be a little bit more like an unsync. Technically, if you want to be super clean, what you would want to do is add a reverse fold to the corners. Just a little reverse fold while it's folded forward. And it can be an unsync instead of a close sync by using these corners to transition this layer. So let me demonstrate. It's like super tiny, so might be a little bit hard to show. Right. So from there, turn this crease into a mountain. I'm gonna go underneath the paper to flip the crease. And what we just reverse folded will turn it into kind of like a sync or an unsync here. And it'll nicely transition. If you can get the creases to align. Right? So now we've unsunken that flap, but then if we just valley fold it down, it acts like a pleat. Just like that. So now we have the bottom row of teeth done, or at least the pleats are done. We just need to do the top now. So from the top, we're going to work this way, kind of same way, so we don't forget. Valley fold this down. Right? And then close sync. Now this is going to be the harder close sync because there is not an edge. We have to push it inside of another flap. Just do it very gently. I recommend just grabbing the crease as a mountain as best as you can. And you might have to go underneath the paper to help invert that crease and push it in. Like that. That's one side, and let's do the other side. Take your time on it, really feel out the paper, and if you've creased it well, the creases will, they've got memory, so it'll kind of pop on its own. Kind of like that. So that's the first one. Now we have the second one, which again, we can treat it like an unsync instead of the close sync by reverse folding these corners up. Like that. Same thing on the other side. And from there, we unsync that flap and use the pre-creases to transition it upwards. And then once we have that flap opened up, we can just valley fold it down. And we have our cascading pleats. Just need to correct it a little bit so they're evenly spaced out. Like that. So this one, the spacing isn't as good. You might have to adjust it. Or if yours is like mine, you might have to adjust it a little bit, but that's okay. The T sizes can be a little different. They don't have to be exact same. That's totally fine. Okay, but now that we have all these pleats, we need to recollapse the head back together. And so what you need to do is towards the snout area, these layers will just go back into the flap here. But these ones will just fold mountain and then valley. So what I want to do with all the pleats intact is mountain fold like this, all of them together, make sure they don't slide. And with all of them together, now we have this portion, and this we push back into the original layer right there and close that up. And that allows the teeth to freely lift on its own. Okay, so now we do that on the other side. Mountain fold. And then push back inside the original flap. And then close up the mouth. And we'll have our teeth ready to go soon. All right, so we've done the teeth. That was quite a bit of work. Before we do the, we actually open and get the teeth, we are going to get the horns out. All right, so now we're going to collapse the horns. Now the horns are just middle flaps. The only thing that's going to make it tricky is that they are very small and there's a lot of paper around the area. That makes it a little bit difficult, but we've done the structure before. Okay, so we're going to look inside for where the start of our horns are. And we're going to grab it like this. And it's this exact same on the other side. We're going to grab them on the other side too. And just open them like this. Open the layers. Now what we're going to do is collapse along our pre-creases. So there's pre-creases that go down here, on that way. And it's just an Elia stretch for a middle flap. So we've done a lot of middle flaps already. It's the exact same as those. The tricky thing is, where do you put them after you collapse it? Because they have to go back towards the center. So what's going to end up is that this will mountain fold. And in order for it to mountain fold, the center will press down and the layers will wrap around each horn on each side. So let's just start the collapse first here along our pre-creases, just to make it a little bit more manageable. Do on both sides. And that gets it close to the center. Right, and now it's kind of a game of adjusting each layer enough so that you can wrap the layers very tightly together. And then again, we're going to be mountain folding here to wrap them around each other. And what you'll notice is as you wrap, or as you mountain fold it, we're making creases, some valley folds inside like that. Inside right there. And that's how you know you're doing it correctly, because now we just have to do the other side at the same time. You can see those valley folds forming. And then what you're going to want to do is we have the flat part eye here. So I'm going to press it down with my thumb so it doesn't move. And then we're going to grab both the horns, push them together, and collapse that central unit down as best as possible. And there we now have two horns like that. That wasn't too bad, right? And there's part of her dragon head. Okay, so we're not going to fully shape it here. I think we're going to do more shaping in the shaping tutorial just because it'll get undone while it's not finished yet. But we can go ahead and start working on the teeth. Before we do the teeth, actually we need to do the top nostrils. And this helps enable the teeth. And the nostrils are formed by doing a swivel fold. So the reference is going to be, like if this is the 1 unit, we're going to go to the half mark. And we're going to grab the outer layer. And we're just going to valley fold from the half mark out to the edge. And it's about 2 grid units down. And it's like a swivel squash. Like that. And you just want to match the same swivel squash on the other side. It doesn't matter if it's like actually the same length in terms of grid units. You just want it to be the exact same on both sides. So symmetrical. Or at least as close to symmetrical as you can. Like that. And by doing these swivel squashes, it will allow the teeth, the valley fold down like that. But before we valley fold them down like that, we are going to actually get the teeth. So the teeth are the exact same as the spikes on the legs here. Or at least they'll feel like these ones. So I recommend to start from the center. And we're going to do the right side first, the bottom jaw first. They are very small, so be careful. And what you're going to do is pull the layer like this. And inside of the mouth is you want to valley fold. So I'm going to start this first one, which goes from the center crease line, valley folds down, right? And then back into the layer. Which getting it into the layer is a little bit more difficult than before because it's so small. But the reason we fold it into like a valley fold instead of wrapping it on the other side is so that the outward side of the teeth, you don't see an extra layer there. It's so small, but you don't see that this will be hidden. Right, so it'll be more apparent when I do the second one, I think. Pull it out. Valley fold down. Again, you don't have to use tweezers, but it makes it a little bit more precise and faster if you do when it's this small. Swivel down. Get it into the pocket. And recollapse. It might not fully go into the pocket, so it'll start to stretch a little bit. That's kind of okay because that will just be part of the shape of the mouth. But if you can, try to get it close. It'll just make it easier structure-wise. So now you can see we have the shape of the tooth here. Right. And so you're going to continue that. We're going to have to do a lot of these. So I'm just going to show one side of the bottom jaw, and then I'll leave you to doing the rest of them. But it's kind of fun. It's a little therapeutic. That one actually happened very naturally. That was an easy one. We got one more here. Got that one. And now for this last tooth, because it is on the edge, right? Previously, we would have just valley folded it down. But what I like to do is actually just valley fold as a pre-crease, a full 45 degree, or yeah, full 45 degree here. And then we can just reverse fold it inside like that. And that becomes the corner of the mouth or the end of the mouth. And then now that we have one side of this done, I'm going to add a soft valley fold through the half layer so that the teeth stick up. So like this. And this will make more sense once all of them are done. So that way, when the mouth is open, the teeth stick up like this. And then the bottom jaw here, I'm going to fold it in half the other direction. Now this is going to be done more into shaping, but I'll just prepare it like this. And that will reveal the teeth like that and give some shape to the jaw. Right. It's probably not going to stay, so I'm just going to insert that for paper memory. And just that little bit will go a long way. All right, so that was a little bit tedious, but what I'm going to have you guys do, you're going to do the rest of these teeth. It's pretty much the exact same. With this swivel fold for the last tooth up here, the swivel fold will start touching, like you'll just adjust it to be on that last tooth. And it's generally just the same. But that is the head clap. So finish all the teeth, finish that, and then do it on the other side as well. So on the other side, we still need the horns and then the teeth. So go ahead and do that on both sides. And we are back with both of the dragon heads completed. That took a little while. Hopefully it was kind of fun for you though. I think once you get into rhythm of it, it's, you know, not overly tedious. But yeah, both look pretty nice. Now, the next part we're going to do is actually something I've done on this side already. So I can show you. And we are going to do on this side. And this is basically like the cape that will help cover the back. So let's get to it. It's a little bit weird. I don't exactly know like the structure. So I actually had a test fold of it from paper when I was originally just trying to figure out what to do with this flap. So I'll try to show you how it goes, and we'll probably be referring to this other one, just so we can check like all the layers are correct. All right, so first of all, if I open this up, we are opening some of the layers, and that's the easy part, but we want to get the amount of layers correct. So that's the first thing I want to point out, is that if we look at our layers, we are pretty much using the one that's attached to the ridge here. So this one goes up and is not unwrapped, but then the ones after that are unwrapped. So let's start with that. So I'm going to look at this side. This is the layer with our ridge, right? And then we have our 1 unit flap here, which we're going to transition. And let me zoom in just a little bit. Okay. So then from here, what I'm going to just start with is just unwrapping the layer like that. And we have this. Now, the next thing to do is we have kind of a swivel that happens to enable this next section. And the swivel happens like in this section with these other layers. So it's just basically a swivel out to the side in that direction. So if we look at this one, it's happening over here. So we can take these layers and swivel here. But this swivel is going to kind of evolve very soon. And this swivel should kind of tuck into the bottom of the dragon head neck area. So something like this. And now here's where it gets a little bit tricky. So we are going to stretch or basically free this layer. So this is the next layer right here. We're basically going to free it by spreading the layer like this. And then we are going to make mountain folds that go here and up. So just like a 1 unit, almost like a 1 unit, you know, level shifter or diamond that we've done previously. We'll start these like mountain folds, right? And at this point, actually, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna we're gonna pre-crease all of it. So we're gonna make this 1 unit diamond with pre-creases. This will just make it easier. Like that. Now we're going to collapse it a little bit, just at least to start the front of it. So we're going to pinch this layer together. Mountain folds on the diamond and then a valley fold between. But you notice that we can only get about halfway into this before it conflicts with the next layer. And that's where we combine the swivel fold with this pre-crease. So it actually is about halfway in there. And we want to try to put back that swivel fold. And by putting back that swivel fold, it'll let us close up this layer and fold it to the side like this, and then complete the crease here. And now we have this layer, which can fold to the left and right. We're going to fold it to the right. So I know that is kind of weird. It's basically you fold the diamond, but what happens in the middle is, well, mine's not really clean, but it like does like this transition chibi like fold on the inside, and it enables that. As long as like the front half is kind of clean, the back half doesn't matter too much. So just try to let it fit in how it suits, and if you can scoot it back and try to get like the full structure. I think it's, let me try to get it so you can visualize what it would look like if it looks a little bit cleaner. Like that, and then swivel. Maybe it's not looking good from there, but if you look in this one, it's like you can see the diamond, and then there's like the hinges that go through. Okay, it's not super important. Just try to get it to this point. All right, so now that we have that first layer done like this, we're gonna make another one right next to it, and it's relatively the same, but it should be a little bit easier because we've done the first one, so we have a reference. So we're going to open up this layer like this, open it like that, and we are going to make those same pre-creases. Right, so this diamond here, and the front creases are more important than the back ones to get accurate. Just pinch them in like I'm doing, as close as you can. All right. And once you have those pushed in, we can fold it in a little bit. We have this layer, which is mountain fold, and we're going to tuck it in next to the other layer. But again, we now have this kind of swivel action that has to happen for it to lay flat. So it's like halfway. This one actually worked a lot better. See, it's like halfway in there, and then the rest can swivel out. And that way our layers can freely move. Just like that. Right, so next we have this layer, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the layers underneath it, and I'm going to grab all of them from underneath and just pull out so that it actually stretches into 3-unit wide structure, and then this area right here will mountain fold. This mountain fold is actually going to pre-crease our next step, which our next step is to turn these flaps into free flaps like these. And this is a lot easier because it's already pre-creased. There's a lot less for us to do. And it's kind of like an unsync. So you pull the layer, or basically push it through, and then you're going to convert the crease to mountain fold. And then you're just going to make sure that the diagonal creases are also mounted. And once you have that, you can fold it along the hinge. So you can see something like this. Fold it back and forth. And it's 3 units wide. And you're going to do this one more time on this one. Like that. Invert the crease. Fold the hinge. And you'll notice that now this is the edge layer. And you can just let that fold to the back. And it kind of closes this unit. Maybe we can use it for shaping for something else, but it just kind of nicely closes the whole section like that. And what we're left with is something like this, where we have the shape, and then we have these 2 free flaps, one on the left, one on the right, like this. And now the next section is going to be pretty similar to something we've done before. And what I want you to do is carefully pre-crease by folding these layers in half, so this edge to the crease line here. We're basically making the pleats again. Now when you pre-crease, because it's thin, it might be easy for the paper to slip, so just be aware of that and try not to let it slip. All right, so that's one. And here's the other. Just like that. Okay, we're going to unfold. We're going to squash fold where we just pre-creased. All right, very similar to the dragon teeth that we just did. But this time we can make this transition unit very clean. So that's what I recommend, is as you get to the top here, make sure that you can open it wide so you can see that pre-crease there, and make it as nice as possible. So if you need to go underneath it and make that mountain fold a little bit nicer, I recommend that, just because this will be a little bit more visible. So something like that. Fold it back up like this. And then now the one that's towards the edge, we're going to valley fold on top of the other one. And we're going to close sync that layer to the other side. And this close sync is really easy, right? It just forms that little triangle, which we can hold closed together and just pop it in. And we have this nice sequence of pleats, which kind of act like layers of a cape. We're going to do the same thing on the other side now. I'm going to go faster. This is the squash fold. Trying to make it nice. Fold in and then close sync. And there we have it to match the other side. Nice little pleated cape that's wide and covers the back. And so these will be hinged onto shoulders while the dragon heads swivel the other way to go on top of the shoulder pads or the shoulder armor. All very exciting. Okay, so we've done that. Let's just do one more thing while we're at it, just to keep it the same, and it kind of helps with layers. I'm going to show you how to do this part of the armor, and then we'll do this part too. So let's look at our arm, and we have a layer, a 2-unit flap that's shoved into the arm here. Basically, all you're going to do is you can either just swivel it up or you can reverse fold it up. So you just reverse fold it up. I'll show both. Reverse fold this up. And then basically in the arm, you just open up that reverse fold and it'll make a swivel. Fully open. Be something like this. But it's going to help make this elbow area a lot thinner in terms of the paper layers. And if you're wondering what we can use this for, is if we look at the other arm, is when we do the finger shaping, it kind of thins out the arm a lot. This will be used to make a nice clean kind of width of the arm as we shape the wrist guard on top without exposing all these layers. So this is a nice extra little detail. Next we have on this arm, we've got a 1x2 unit flap. To widen it, all we're going to do is very carefully unwrap the layer on top. Let me make sure I'm unwrapping this to correct direction. Yes. So and now that I'm thinking, it might be easier to do the finger claps first before doing this. If it gets harder, we'll just put it back. We'll just rewrap it. But just unwrap it. I opened up a lot of the arm so that the paper doesn't rip. Then I'm recollapsing it. And there's a swivel for both of these. For the one that's closer, that's towards the head, it will go underneath the 2 units and the hinge down below. So it's swiveled here. Now what you can also do is you can just hold the layer down and get it to the corner here, which will give it a little bit more flexibility. But it'll keep the same shape. See that? It's just to the corner. And then the next one here, we actually want to add like a mountain fold here. So what I like to do to get this is we just kind of have to treat this like a squash fold. So it's mountain fold, mountain fold. So sometimes I just like valley fold this flap to the side, and that starts the that sort of squash fold. Here the paper is kind of fighting us, so we might just have to do it manually. And just like, I'm just creasing these mountain folds from corner to corner of the grid. That way it can sit nicely over the hands. Like that. And this will be used for the wrist guard armor. All right, we're doing pretty good. I think we just have one more section in this tutorial, besides doing the fingers here. And that, we'll do the fingers very, very last. But the thing we're gonna do is now the helmet collapse. All right, so I have the crease pattern up here so you can see. And there are some green lines. These we haven't pre-creased, but we need to pre-crease them now and collapse on them. We didn't pre-crease this before. It just like gets confusing if you do it then, but it's not too bad to collapse and just do it now. So I'll show you how it goes. It's a little bit weird because you can see there's like this cross section here, but yeah, overall it's really not too bad. I think maybe we do the edge one first, so you understand how it works, and then do the middle one. Let's try that. So we're gonna unfold a little bit here, just so we can see what we're working with. So we're looking for the structure of the flap. So that's right over here, because that's where our crease is gonna start, right? So here's the point, and we need to make a pre-crease that goes here. And then it goes down 3 units. Then it goes up this way 1. Right, and then we can do the same thing on this side. We'll do the top one first here. I'm gonna try not to be blocked. Okay, and then this way. So I've only done like here, here, and those. The like the X's in the middle here, they're just hinges. I think technically this one like goes like this. Maybe it doesn't, but all we need to pre-crease are the long ones, right? So we have that done. I'm wondering if we should do all of them first. Okay, let's see if we can get away with not doing it, but just to show the collapse. But it's really not too difficult of a collapse. It's just regular now. So we imagine that this is like the top of the flap. Now, in order for this to be the top of the flap, we actually have to convert some of these to mountain. So originally it was like valley all the way to the edge, but now it's mountain. All right, because that was kind of confusing at the start, we're going to take a look at Orient to see how the collapse actually works. So these are the lines we just pre-creased, right? What we're going to want to do is actually fold these as mountain first. So you're going to fold at least like this. And then over here, this becomes mountain. This also stays as a mountain over here, but those other lines are gone. And then we have the, like this makes it a reverse fold in here. But in terms of the sequence, you're going to want to make these mountain fold first. And then after they mountain fold, you'll be able to fold this as mountain fold, which on the underneath will leave this as valley. And then on the inside here, we'll have a valley. So this is like the mountain valley that will occur when you actually do this. And I show it on the second side of the horn. Just the first horn is kind of confusing. So you can look ahead when they do the second horn. I show the sequence, just a little heads up. And it actually will fold really nicely together. So if I'm only focusing on basically this section right here, and I fold that diamond shape all together, you can actually kind of see how it collapses, which there will be a valley fold between the diamond. Like let it close. And I think this side will push inwards. Something like that. And then, or actually maybe both of these do. But basically from here, we're just gonna try collapsing it as the Elias stretch. So let's make this next crease a mountain on both sides. And then it just goes valley, mountain. Okay, and then now that we have this starting to be done, we need to resolve the outside of this. Generally, we would like have this as valley, but I think we're folding it around itself and valley folding it forward. So this is where that hinge comes into play. And so it'll actually be a mountain fold with this, just like our, like the same thing with those dragon horns where we're reverse folding it. So we get these valley folds at the bottom here. I'm pretty sure it operates just the same. And now that we have more of this in place, we can actually get the top of the diamond to fold around. And collapse in on itself. And you can see how the tip is basically just the diamonds, all mountain folds, and it wraps around. So we have like one collapse. Let's do the other side. It's kind of hard to show, but okay, maybe if I do both, then it'll be easier to read. It really is just like a standard collapse. It's just like, it's kind of finicky. Okay, so maybe from here we can get a little bit more of the hinges in play. So now that I've squashed this side a bit, you can see the other side can collapse a bit more normally. And as you have that collapse normally, the rest of the part up here can collapse. And so before we go on, we can just take a look at the creases in this diamond. So some of them are pushed in, which just follow the ridge here. But the ones that cross each other are mountain. So it's like mountain, 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 mountain. One under there is valley, and one under there is valley. And it actually really nicely collapses once it's close to being fully collapsed. Like this. And so let's try to replicate that with this other side. So here we are. Opened up. We have the diamond, the cross area. So the cross area will certainly be all mountains. The part underneath here could be valley. So let's start on these mountains with the valley in the middle. Okay, I think the easiest way to visualize this actually is the creases we just added, which are this one and this one. Fold these together as mountain. And then from there, the old creases that cross over, then fold those as mountain, which on the underneath will fold as valley. But they're just folding through the layers. And that will give you the right order of creases in order to fold that tip up. Now we just need to recollapse the rest as normal, like this. And that should very nicely collapse everything together. Okay, that might have been the way to teach it before. So we'll make sure to get that for the next one. That was like a lot easier, actually. But okay, yeah, we're discovering the sequence as we go. It's okay. This is not a normal structure. Okay, and now, right, we have this reverse fold on the inside. We want to make sure it's like kind of clean on the outside too. Because it's a thin layer, it's actually kind of hard to get it to obey just because it's having to wrap around a lot of other structures. So yeah, you just try to get it as best as you can. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to shape out these horns later. It should be okay. That is not bad. Like that. All right, so we did the horns on the edge. Now we just need to do it over here in the middle. And so it's basically the same thing. It's just there's a little bit more going on since we have two sides to deal with, but we want to start it the same. So I'm going to open this up here, and we're going to have to go in, unfold a little bit, just so we can get those pre-creases underway. So let's get the pre-creases. You're going to find where you're supposed to put it, and then just fold them as mountain folds. Again, you don't have to pre-crease the hinges. Just do the structures. So it's like the 3 units this way, 3 units that way. All right, so like that. And over here. Units this way. And if you're wondering why this wasn't originally in the crease pattern, is one, it's confusing to collapse this if you were to read it, and two, it's hard to draw it flat folding. Like, I think it technically can, but there might be some tricky spots about it, or at least these can, but when they're together it's kind of weird, the layers. But yeah, it's just easier to, in my opinion, to do it like this. Okay, so now we've pre-creased them, and we've pre-creased them all this mountain, right? So just like before, we can have this mountain, and then after it's mountain, then we can mountain fold the old crease, which tucks it underneath. If we do both sides at once, it forms the top of the point that we want it to be. And so now we just have to collapse the rest of it, but I'm going to do this on both sides first. I think it'll be a little bit easier if we have both sides working together as we do this collapse. Go ahead, get that. It's one side. It's the other side. And then I'm going to reach in the middle here and start doing the collapse, which means we have to invert this grid. Like that. Inverts on the inside too. Gotta crease that down. Okay. So we almost got this side good to go. When we had folded, it might have unfolded a little bit too much, so let's put that back on that side and on this side. There we go. We can start to crease that together. Now we have this bottom side done pretty much. Now we're just going to do this side, and then we'll be able to treat it like a reverse fold, kind of like the dragon horns, and finish up the collapse. And once you understand what's going on, it's not that hard to collapse it. It's just it's confusing because it's not super regular thing to do. And there's a lot of paper intersecting or potentially intersecting all at once. Okay, so we've got that side, we got this side. Right. And now what you want to do is we want to get that, reverse fold set of creases in, and it's kind of hard to angle it correctly so that it wants to obey. So what I like to do is I'll just, make sure the flap is strong, and then I'll just pull it and use my finger on the inside to kind of help it get stretched as close as it's supposed to be stretched on one side, which is about there. And then I'll do the same thing on the other side. And then I'll probably just have to look what else needs to be fixed in order to get it clean. But it's nice to like hold the actual flap together so that the layers can obey as close as possible. Okay, so then that's looking good, but it completely messed up the other side. So now we just have to find what messed up here, which is this. And this needs to mount and fold over. And we just correct the other side. And what you'll notice is the two flaps here, because of the way we've pushed it, they're kind of fighting each other. So you just need to position some of the layers on the inside here to not fight each other. So it's kind of a crazy mess in there right now. But if you're able to see how it's open, you just want it to like get cleaned up in there, and that'll make it a little bit easier for you to adjust these flaps back to normal and clean it up as much as you can. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect because we're gonna do a lot of shaping with these. You just want the flaps to be, free for you to manipulate. And there we have our 4, I guess dragon horns that will be on the helmet. Just like that. And next up, we just have to do a little bit of work on this, which is relatively easy. We do need to pre-crease this a little bit. So we can just start by opening up like this on each side. And then we're going to add the pre-creases, which will go here and here. And the way I like to do that is I just reach inside a little bit and poke. I think we actually pre-creased this already. We just have to collapse it. Yeah, it looks like we did pre-crease this. So you're going to find your pre-creases like this. And the grid unit, you might have to invert like right here. Or maybe not. I think it's already good. And then this is just the middle flap collapse. So from here, these will wrap around one side and turn into a reverse fold in the middle. Really just like what we've done many times already. But this is just a smaller flap with not as much going on, so should be easier. And I do want you to try to get this clean because this will turn into the structure for the guard of the face mask. And the cleaner these corners are, the easier it'll be to shape it the same on both sides. Especially since this is like a divisible portion of the helmet. It's just nice to have that a little bit cleaner. All right. From there, and we can kind of see what we have here. We have the horns of the helmet. We have like the top of the helmet, which will widen and fold down, and then this will be what we use for the face. All right, so we are pretty close to being done with this tutorial for the whole collapse. The last thing, we'll just do the fingers because why not? We'll save time from the shaping tutorial and just do the fingers now. So the fingers, it's a structure I've used in the other assassin. I've taught it many times. I think it's in the Sword and Shield. So if you need to, you can go to those tutorials. But it's pretty easy. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the sync folds on this side of the arm. So we're going to fold bisectors as pre-creases. And not all of these are sync folds. There's 2 squash folds and maybe 3 or 4 sync folds, but they pre-crease all the same. So bisectors. Now we have some areas that you might not be able to fully pre-crease on because there's other things. Just get as close as you can. It's okay if it's not fully exact, Only important thing is that you get the tips of the fingers like relatively close to what it should be. But yeah, even if it's not, it's kind of okay. So, okay, I think it's 4 sync folds, 2 squash folds. All right, so we got 2 more pre-creases left. Got this one. And then we got this one, which this one will be one where we might not be able to get the full bisector to crease, but that's okay. Just get it close enough. Like that. All right. Now we're going to sync fold. We'll start with the hard one first, the one that's got stuff next to it. Pretty generic sync fold. You know, I've done so many of these, so it's just you just do them. Nothing too much to it. When it's thin like this, you can see me just reversing the creases all to mountain fold along the edges, just like you would with any sync fold. Close it. Boom. I believe the next one is going to be a squash fold, so we just open that up. And we do have some stuff in the way, but with the squash fold, you can drag it into like a 2x3, so it ends 2 and it shoots out to the 3rd there. So it won't be a symmetrical squash fold, but that's okay. The point is just to thin the layer. All right, got that. Oh, this got stuck. Let's not get that messy. So if your edge here gets trapped, just make sure it's not like super stuck where it'll rip the finger here. So just be careful of that. Okay, now it's free. Now I can keep sync folding. Like this. All right, we got one more or 2 more now. Got this one. All right, and then we have the squash fold. This one's a little bit easier because there's less going on. And one more sync fold here. All right. So we have those sync folds. Now what we're going to do is we have these 2 like water bomb bases here. You're going to valley fold them in half, the tip to the edge as pre-creases, and then we're going to open sync these as well. All right, so just a fold in half there, fold in half here. Like that. And because there's a lot of layers in here, the only tricky part is just that it's hard to reach inside the paper. So you gotta kind of lift the paper carefully because you also don't want to rip it. Sometimes that means unfolding the hand just a bit so you have access into the paper like this. And once you have that, it's pretty easy to do these sync folds. Again, it's just mount and fold on the edges. Here's one. To invert these creases. And here's the second one. And we can fold that down. Cool. So now we're ready to get the fingers in the right orientation. So we have it like this. Let's zoom in a little. Basically what you want to do is see we have like, this is the finger and then there's like the seam here. If we actually valley fold along that, it's going to open up this sync fold and kind of turn it into a spread sync. This. Right. And we can actually start to fold the fingers back up, but in order to do so, there's like one smaller tip over here. It's going to shift 45 degrees in order to do so. So let me show you on the next one. Basically, we're going to open this finger and start pushing that valley fold in. And if we close these three fingers now, you can start to see how this flap will go 45 degrees. And we've done half of it, so the other half still needs to shift. So if we look at the other side, let's open this finger down. Do that spread sync. With the valley fold. And then for the other finger. And that will force this tip to fold 45 degrees up. And if we hold all the fingers together like this, right, so we have our fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have this big flap sticking up here. And now what I like to do for the armor, what I do for basically all my knights that have this structure is I valley fold 45-degree angle here. So I can do an outside reverse fold. And then this outside reverse fold is kind of weird, so I want to flatten it. So then what I do is I like just do a valley fold in half. And then that lets me squash fold this down. But the squash fold will open up this flap just a little bit so that it can squash fold like this. And when it's squash folded, you can actually wrap it around the hand like that. And it becomes kind of either the top of the hand or the palm. Depends which side of the fingers you are. Like that. So our fingers. And then generally what I do, and this is kind of part of the shaping, is we have like areas where there's extra bit of the flap sticking out. I kind of just valley fold or swivel those inside. The swivel or reverse fold comes from the fact that it's like attached right here. And if you do it either as a swivel or like a tiny reverse fold, it will make the finger be able to move longer. And that's how we get our longer fingers. Because right now they don't look very long. But if you do that, they will be able to move at the full hinge. And they'll be pretty ready to be shaped. So go ahead and do that. For all the fingers. And this would be where you can like maybe clean up some of the folds of your fingers too. I didn't really do the sync folds very cleanly on this hand since I was showing the tutorial. But I recommend you try to get them cleaner. The cleaner the sync folds, the better the fingers generally turn out. So just keep that in mind. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Mine will be an example of very imperfect folds, but it's a small detail, so it's going to work out anyways, and we can just shape it. All right, so go ahead and do that. I don't know if you can see too much of a difference, but we'll be able to shape the fingers out a lot more. Right. And I actually didn't do that yet on the other hand, but go ahead and do the same thing on the other hand. As you can see, this one turned out cleaner. I just need to do the thinning of the fingers. But yeah, go ahead and do that and you will be done with the collapse tutorial. We are getting close to the finish. Well, not quite, but we have the shaping, but at least the collapse, right? It's looking good. So if we zoom out here really very quickly, we'll take a look what we got. We have the helmet and neck and face. It's going to be here. We have shoulder armor with our dragon heads on both sides. On the back of those, we have a cape, as well as this thing, which will just help us close the back, I guess. Extra armor. Then we have our arms. I also have like some extra layers for shaping the armor down. Wrist guards, forearms. And we got our cool signature DPA torso armor with all those spikes. Pretty cool. Got the waistcoat. Got the waistcoat on the back side. Oh, we need to do something. Okay, we'll do that with the shaping. And then we have these fully closed legs with knee pads or knee armor and then spiked armor here. And then we have our feet, which you can see I valley folded this one up, but this is approximately where the feet will go. So if you want, you can just mark that in. It's on, it's like the second grid line up. Just valley fold it. It's approximately the feet. It's going to go a little bit up because this is like the ankle joint and then the knees are like up here. So looking good. Good job on the collapse. This is a pretty crazy model. But yeah, thank you so much for folding with this tutorial and look forward to the shaping tutorial.
All this origami, all this origami, all this origami got me going kamikaze now.